we'd like to start with the ruling that wasn't supposed to be revealed today. In this case, the Idaho abortion case. How does this happen? Is this something that got fat-fingered? Was it intentional? Will we ever know?
Yeah, we may not ever know. It seems like somebody posted it when they weren't supposed to. So it appeared around the time of those other two rulings. And what normally happens is that they release them as they're announced from the bench. Well, Chief Justice Roberts announced only two opinions from the bench, or he deferred to other justices to announce those opinions. Didn't say anything about this opinion. And it's possible that what happened was they were originally planning on issuing this opinion today, and one justice said, hey, I need to think about something a little bit more. I want to tweak something. And so the justices didn't do that, but the person in the court's publications unit went ahead and put it online. That's at least a possibility.
Okay, so however this ultimately went down, this, of course, happened. Bloomberg and Bloomberg Law got their eyes on this. Now we all know ahead of the presidential debate how the court is likely to rule. What we don't know is how they're likely to rule on some of these other cases, including the question of someone who's debating tomorrow night, Donald Trump, and whether he has presidential immunity. Why sit on any of these cases when they could be so politically consequential, or is it because exactly that reason?
Well, it is probably in part because of exactly that reason. They're big cases, and so they're spending a lot of time on them. Now, this is a very backloaded Supreme Court term. We still have about 10 opinions that still have to come out, and that is an awful lot for this late in June. That said, what we're seeing on this court is, even though they've got a solid conservative majority, they're all over the place. And so you look at that gun ruling last week where they had 7 separate opinions in that ruling, even though it was nominally 8-1. And so part of what might be going on, we'll see, may be that there are 9 individuals on this court who have, 9 or at least more than 1 or 2 separate views on what should happen in the Trump case.
We're on a 3-day tour here with the court today, tomorrow, Friday, or opinion days. Will everything be out by the end of this week, or is the conventional wisdom right that this likely bleeds into July?
It's likely to bleed into July, and the reason is the court has a tradition. On the penultimate opinion day, the Chief Justice says, our final opinion day will be X. He hasn't done that yet. He may well do that on Friday. He may tell us that the last opinion day is, say, Monday or Tuesday of the following week.
All right, so we head into July. Bloomberg's Greg Stohr, thank you so much. It's been quite a day for you. Now let's get more on the political implications, potentially, of the court's expected decision and the decisions to come, and bring in Bloomberg's Gregory Korte. So, Gregory, as we've mentioned, this comes on the eve of the CNN presidential debate between Trump and Biden. Does this expected ruling, or what they appear poised to do, take away a talking point from Biden? The court doesn't seem ready to act to even further restrict abortion access.
It may well, although, look, this is abortion is going to be a talking point in this election, regardless of how the court rules on this. And we've had this steady onslaught of headlines, really these reverberations from the Dobbs decision over the past couple of years, where we have state legislatures taking up abortion legislation in their states. We have the abortion pill ruling. We have now this ruling on emergency abortions. And so it's really in the air. It's an unavoidable issue. And it's certain to come up tomorrow, where especially former President Trump is going to be on the defensive on this issue, because he's the president who appointed the justices who because of his justices, that's what led to the Dobbs decision. And he's tried to sort of walk back and moderate his position on abortion since the Dobbs ruling, saying he only wanted to send it back to the states. And so you can certainly expect President Biden to try to put Trump on the defensive to say, which is it? Did you want the Dobbs ruling? Did you want to ban abortion nationally?
Yeah.
Or because you say one thing in front of a conservative audience and maybe something a little bit more in terms of a mass audience?
Does this heighten increased calls for a federal law in this case? You've had 2 now in the Supreme Court, in this case in Idaho, and then the mifepristone abortion pill. Will the former President Donald Trump have to answer more to that call for a federal law?
Yeah, well, the reason why this was a federal issue, and of course, Greg could probably speak to this a little bit better than I can, but it really did invoke the spending power of the government, to use the Medicaid reimbursement power of the government to say, look, if you're going to take this federal money for Idaho hospitals, you also have to play by the federal rules of how you administer this this particular medical procedure. And so, yeah, there are a lot of different ways that this can become a federal issue. Abortion in the military, among military service members who may be stationed in a state that prohibits abortion. That's a federal issue. So there's any number of ways where this can come up and become a presidential issue in the next administration.
Well, if it's a presidential issue, that means it likely is going to be debated tomorrow night. And we talked about the stakes in that debate with senior DNC spokesperson Hannah Muldaven earlier on Balance of Power about what Joe Biden needs to do.
It's been 4 years since Americans have seen Joe Biden and Donald Trump on a debate stage. Yeah. A lot has happened in those 4 years. We just mentioned women's rights being taken away. Donald Trump has been impeached twice and is now a convicted felon on 34 counts. What Joe Biden needs to do is speak directly to the American people about what he's done.
Gregory, is tomorrow night as much about speaking about what he's done or speaking it well, speaking it in a coherent manner, not having any gaffes or any pause moments as he's debating at 81?
You know, it's remarkable. We usually talk about, you'll hear politicians say that elections are about the future. And ordinarily, a debate like this, you would have two candidates talking about what they want to do in their next term as president. This is the first time we've had a televised debate between two people who have already been president. And so, by definition, they're going to be talking about their records, and they're going to be talking about the other person's record as well. A big part of the case for both of these men is to say that the other guy is disqualified, either because Biden is too old, or the Biden argument is that Trump is disqualified because he's a convicted felon, right? And so, yeah, I think we're going to have an unusual debate. This is also the earliest debate that we've ever had in history. The combined age of the candidates is higher than we've ever had on a debate stage before. And so this is going to be one remarkable debate. And add to that the fact that this is a CNN-controlled debate. First debate in decades that the Commission on Presidential Debates hasn't hosted. So it's CNN's rules here.
Yes,
and we'll have to see how that changes the dynamic as we look at these guys side by side.